Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and on tonight's show, we'll be talking about modern etiquette and how to behave yourself in a variety of situations in today's changing technological world, whether you're in the boardroom or on the plane or just out and about networking or even at the dinner table. Did you know that etiquette is important in both our professional and personal lives? 85% of the reason people are able to get a job, keep a job, and move ahead in that job is due to their people skills. And here to give us a lesson on everything you've always wanted to know on modern etiquette in today's technological world is Blais Comeau. Julie is Canada's most quoted etiquette expert. She's the founder of etiquettejulie.com and the author of Etiquette, Confidence, and Credibility. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Julie.
Thank you for having me, Barbara.
If you have any questions for Julie tonight about how to conduct yourself in a certain situation, please feel free to call the number on your screen at any point during the show, and Julie will be pleased to answer your questions and guide you through the particular situation that you might have questions about. So first of all, I'd like to ask you, Julie, how did you get into your line of work and how does one become an etiquette expert?
You know, it's an excellent question. Basically, Barbara, I became an etiquette expert out of survival. And secret be told, and actually I talked about it at the beginning of my book.
And your book is called Etiquette, Confidence,
and Credibility.
And we've got a screenshot of that cover in case you're wondering about where to get that book. Where can you find it?
On my website, etiquettejulie.com. You can find it on amazon.com, send it abroad to Europe, or amazon.ca.
Wonderful. And when did it come out?
It came out 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago. And I became an etiquette expert out of survival. I'm gauche and I'm left-handed. And, you know, probably like a lot of our viewers, when came like, you know, that pre-adolescence time when you're like 12, 13 years old, I was what my mother would call pleasantly plump. I had freckles. I still have them. You can see them, but now there's makeup. I had eczema, so I didn't quite fit in, you know. And all I wanted, more than anything in the whole wide world, was to be like the cool kids at the cafeteria. And I'm sure you had them in your school, you know. Yeah. They would walk through that door like they had it. Yeah. And they had that confidence, that credibility. And I was striving for that because I knew that once I could connect with people, that I was kind of okay, that I was kind of cool on the inside. So I started to learn what to do when and how, because as a lefty, as a gauche girl, I would get noticed for my awkwardness, for being different. So I sort of like wanted to fit in. So I started to read Dale Carnegie, Emily Post. And so now what I like to say is that etiquette will give you the confidence, the credibility. That is the competitive edge.
And so how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing training and development for well over 10 years, and I've specialized in etiquette for 5 years now.
And your background is before the world of etiquette?
Yeah, I studied education, and then I went on to have a career in retail. I was in management, and then went on to human resources, specialized in training and development. So it's very natural progression.
All fields have to do with people skills.
You know, you're so right, and that is what I teach. I teach interpersonal skills, so whether it's etiquette, social or business etiquette, international protocol, how to interact with other people from different countries, and intercultural intelligence. Plus, when I started way in the beginning, I also gained a certification from the Canadian Tourism Human Resource Council, so having to do with client services, so always interpersonal skills.
Very interesting. And Julie, you have 4 definitions for 4 words that are sometimes used synonymously with etiquette but shouldn't be. So there's ethics, etiquette, protocol, and manners.
Yeah, so allow me to quote from my book, Barbara. So I'm just going to go here to page 22 inside of my book. And, you know, sometimes people use them as synonyms. They're pretty close cousins. Like, there are some parallels, but this is how I like to sum it up. Manners are what to do. Protocol is when to do it. Ethics is why we do what we do, and etiquette is how to do it. So let's take an example of when you're meeting someone. So manners, what to do. You know you have to greet them. Now, if we input the protocol, which is when to do it, so who's going to go first? Is it the client? Is it me? Is it the Prime Minister? Should it be me? Ethics is why we do what we do. So ethics has to do with the values. So you can think of a code of ethics. So it's very profound. And lastly, the etiquette is how to do it. So if we go back to our greeting, is it maybe going to be a namaste? Are we going to shake hands? Or are we going to do like our close cousins, French Canadians, maybe do la bise? So ethics, etiquette, protocol, and manners are all a little bit different.
Interesting. Do people place the same importance on etiquette now that they did a generation ago? I mean, I know there's so many changes in today's world with the world of technology and, of course, an overall relaxing of formality all throughout North America, whether you're in the workplace or in your personal life. What's your take on the importance of etiquette and what people's stance is on it these days?
Yeah, as I stated just a little while ago, for me, it's the competitive edge. You're absolutely right that there's been a decrease in formality. But for me, etiquette is not about noses or the pinky up in the air. Because when you show up, when you're going to be television host of the year and you're at this wonderful, humongous gala, and you're scratching your head, you're paralyzed because is it my bread plate? Is it their bread plate? When you don't know what to do, when, and how, you're embarrassed, you're paralyzed, you freeze.
Because you think, what will everyone else think of me?
Exactly. Yeah. And so once you have that knowledge, the etiquette knowledge, then you're able to broadcast positively, you're able to shine. And you know what, between you and I, whether you do or not, what I teach is irrelevant. What I want is for you to be confident because you know how to maybe do during a video conferencing or texting etiquette, because that has also evolved. Like as communication evolves, as people evolve, etiquette evolves as well.
But Julie, if there's only one or two people in a crowd that know how to behave or know a certain set of rules around a situation, and nobody else does, is it kind of like when a tree falls down in the forest and no one's around to hear it? Does it become irrelevant?
Absolutely not, because you know what to do. You're going to be confident, whether the other people do it or not. You know, and it's not up to us to go, Julie said, no, we wouldn't do anything like that. But once again, we're back at confidence and credibility. So we're able to display that. We're able to broadcast that. But more often than not, there is etiquette, and people just don't realize it. You know, a way that I like to sum up etiquette, Barbara, is when in Rome, do as Romans do. And you know, we live in this wonderful world. Actually, we live in a wonderful, wonderful country where there's this like mix of different cultures.
Well, who are the Romans in this situation?
The Canadians. The Canadians, the Ottawans, because, you know, culture doesn't just have to do with your country of origin. I'm sure that our viewers can think about, if I tell you that the culture from this side of the river with the other side of the river, two distinct cultures.
Can you give me some examples?
The way that they interact, people interact, the way that people greet, like we were talking about before. Now, if I tell you also, if you're somewhere maybe downtown Ottawa, could you maybe pick out the people that come from the Glebe compared to the people that come from Canada, or the people that come from Orleans? Or when you see someone, you say, I bet you these people are probably from Montreal. So they may have that je ne sais quoi, or even by what we visually see, by how they dress. There could be a different culture. Culture can be seen, but sometimes culture can be heard, and most of the time, not seen, not heard.
I want to talk about some of the cultural differences among people from different countries, and you had a really interesting intercultural graphic that I'd like to take a look at. If you can just pull up that graphic on intercultural trends between the different countries. So Canada, France, Italy, United States, and China. Tell us a little bit about what this graphic means.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
About a year ago, I got certified on intercultural intelligence. And this, of course, as you can see, is a psychometric tool that I use with my clients. So within 40 questions, less than half an hour from the comfort of your home, your office, you go online, and then poof, you get to be graphed. And I'd like to bring your attention and that of our viewers to the 5 dimensions. So let's just start way at the bottom, and then we can see, let's take a look at Canada. It's the blue square, like what you and I are wearing this evening, right? We talked before the show. So you can see that we're much more task-driven than somebody that would come from China.
What does that mean, to be task-driven?
Well, it means that during a meeting, you know, we're going to want to know by the end of the meeting what exactly is required of us. Whereas generally, and this of course is a generality that where the person that was coming from China, they may be a lot more interested in relationship, maybe even more in consensus. And if we take a look, now if we go about towards the middle, we can see like somebody that comes from Italy may want something that's probably a bit more in the middle, having to do with certainty and uncertainty. Like they're not going to be that much of a risk taker. And take a look where the purple one is. Like it's really, really interesting where all the parallels are. The purple, the United States would be a lot more of a risk taker. So that would explain a lot of the times, even when somebody's from the same country on a team, why sometimes when you're working with someone, you get the impression like you're talking Martian. So you're going to see their values. Are they dependent, interdependent? Are they a risk taker? Are they a lot more about certainty when they communicate? Is it direct, or do they go about it like all around in a very indirect fashion? So it's very, very relevant to the people skills, to communication skills, generally speaking.
And how is it relevant to etiquette?
It's relevant to etiquette because if you remember, the etiquette is going to be the how. How is that person going to behave? How are they going to talk? How are they going to be? So it gives you some insight as to their motivators.
What are some of the biggest trends you see in the world of etiquette right now?
It's changing everywhere.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. Think about that smartphone that we don't go anywhere without. And just on that smartphone, you have social media. I mean, 10 years ago, did we really talk about social media?
No. We barely had internet.
Barely had internet. Now, texting etiquette. Did you ever think maybe 5 years ago that you would text your boss when you would be late? Probably not. You would have used the telephone. Did you ever think that maybe you would go to a restaurant and snap away a picture?
For Instagram?
For Instagram, video conferencing, wedding etiquette. Ooh la la, I'm sure that our viewers probably are invited to a wedding, maybe somewhere down south. Do they have to bring a gift or not? What do they wear? Or maybe some of them were invited to a wedding, Barbara, and they were asked to pay a certain amount. So etiquette evolves in everything. Everything. It's all around us right now.
I want to talk about technology and etiquette in a minute, but first let's talk about dining, because everybody eats and at some point we have to go out with colleagues. We're doing a business deal over lunch or just having appies and drinks after work. So how to behave yourself. And of course, the place setting is an important part of that, whether you're entertaining or being entertained. And you sent us a nice little graphic on sort of your typical place setting. Maybe we can bring that up now so we can figure out which fork to use and which spoon and knife goes where. So here's the graphic that you sent us. Can you take us through what everything is?
Yeah, so let's make it easy on our viewers. And if you're a recent graduate and you've made it to interview maybe number 3 and you're invited to lunch or dinner and you are sitting at that table, which one is my bread plate? So let's teach our viewers an acronym. The acronym is just like the car, Barbara. B, BMW.
BMW.
BMW, so from left to right. B is for bread. My bread plate is on the left. M, meal. My plate is in the center. And then W, on the right, are my wine glasses or my water glass. So once again, B for bread, M for meal, W for water or wine. And when I teach children, and I have like modern manners for young ladies and young men, I have the children put up their fingers and form a B with their left hand. So they remember that their bread plate is on their left. And using the fingers of the right hand, they form a D, so the drinks are on their right. So BMW, B, and D. So that's our place setting.
Okay. And so eat to your left, the bread is on your left, drink to your right.
Correct, correct. And then, you know, it could be 3, 4, 5, even 7-course meal. And what is important to remember for anyone going out there, and you know, you may be scratching your head, which one is for the salad? What if the salad is served after the main course, as they would do in Europe? Well, just remember, from the outside to the inside. So use your utensils starting from the outside. So you'd be going on this particular place setting this evening. We would probably start with a potage, a soup. So we would use our spoon on the outside, and then we'd be coming through on the inside. This fork could have been placed over here. And maybe we would have had something being served before, like an entree that would be served before, so maybe a smoked salmon, so we would have used a smaller fork. For the ones that are placed here at the top, these are the utensils that we're going to be using for dessert. And if you go to a very chic, fancy restaurant, the server's probably going to come behind you or to the side of you. And what he or she is going to do, they're going to be coming, and I'm just going to displace these. And what they would do, I want you and our viewers to notice where the handles are. And if you remember, here's our fork and here's our spoon. So the goal of the server or yourself, if you're in a restaurant where the server is not going to do it, is just to bring them down in the same position. So the fork would come down and the spoon would come down. And from here, you're going to be eating your dessert, and the spoon could serve as much as a spoon to go and get a coulis or ice cream that has melted, or it could be used to cut, and the fork can be used to pick or to cut as well.
You're making me really hungry.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's that time for going for a snack. Maybe some of our viewers are just going to go and get maybe that piece of pie and ice cream.
You have an interesting saying, don't do lunch just to eat and drink. What does that mean?
You know, I love, love, love that saying, especially when you're going to conduct business. What's the reason of the business meal? It's not to eat. You're not there to eat. You're not there to drink. You're there to conduct business. You could be there to celebrate someone. You could be there to honor someone. You could be there to present. You're there to build a relationship. And the same saying goes for a networking event. You know, it's the season right now. We've been inside. It's been cold. Actually, it's kind of still cold.
Still cold, yeah.
But, you know, everybody's going out there to network. When you're going to a networking event, eat a little something before. Be ready to interact, to talk with people.
So does that mean you're not really allowed to enjoy yourself?
It doesn't mean that you're not allowed to enjoy yourself, but be cognizant of what you're sending out. You know, I love spaghetti and tomato sauce, like just a plain pomodoro. But if I'm out...
Oh, that's a big no-no.
Isn't it a big no-no? Yeah. Especially if you're wearing that impeccable white blouse or shirt, right? That would be a big no-no. So think about it. Yeah. Set yourself up for success.
Julie, I want to hear more about some of the rules around dining, and also how to be a good host and how to be a good guest, and what are the kinds of things you do when you've been invited out for a meal, and how do you behave yourself accordingly when we come back from the break.